Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag has a DLC about fighting against slavery and takes place after the events of the original game called Freedom Cry. And we follow Adewale as the main protagonist, and we have a total of only 6 achievements that I need to earn to say that I 100%ed Assassin's Creed Black Flag on Steam. Adewale starts off with a run of bad luck as his ship is completely destroyed in the intro sequence of the game, and we are washed up onto some random Caribbean island with slaves and slavers on it, and we are hit with the title screen for this DLC. We rescue some runaway slave, which was our first achievement, and are tasked with finding a gentleman, who then leads us to a brothel which we needed to go to because we needed to eavesdrop on a conversation and confront the lady in charge about the package that was addressed to her but we stole earlier in the game where our ship was destroyed. We ended up deciding to team up with her to try and stop the slavery happening in this area by first clearing out the area for the resistance that will soon be created to try and combat slavery by freeing resistance fighters called Maroons from their overseers as well as just regular slaves. We get this done and are awarded for our efforts with a shiny new toy, the blunderbuss, which was actually very fun to shoot and play around with in this DLC, and was an alternative to the pistols from the main game. Also, the hideout became a big part of progression in the game, as there are rewards for how many slaves you liberate and how many Maroons or resistance fighters that you recruit, and the first one was a rope dart pouch upgrade from liberating 25 slaves, but could go all the way to free ammo or new blunderbusses to play with. The missions are also locked behind the amount of slaves or Maroons you have liberated or recruited, but it is very easy to get both of these by just doing different side objectives that usually involve aggressing on the slavers, and range between objectives with only rescuing 1 slave or 90 with the slave ship, even though the real life counterparts carried a lot more than 90 slaves. But before we can get to liberating slave ships, we need a ship of our own, and me and the Maroons pirated this one, and we went to sea to complete our next objective, which was coincidentally to liberate a slave ship.
Go, the nightmare is over.
As you can see, we get 90 slaves and 10 Maroons for every slave ship, so these will become the biggest way to grind out slaves for the Seeds of Independence achievement, which is to liberate 500 in total. Anyway, we get back to the brothel because the lady in charge, or Bastien, learned of some things going on and she needed us to disguise as a slave and infiltrate a fort so we can eavesdrop on a conversation that involves the governor and learn some valuable information in our anti-slavery campaign. Apparently, Bastien's sources are unreliable, and we need to further the movement's agenda by ourselves by first eavesdropping on the harbor master, then completing some investigations into another character. The next mission has us stealthily switch a ship's manifest with another one to get 3 originally uninvited guests onto an expeditionary ship that could potentially help us with the research they are conducting aboard. But the ship was about to be attacked and we had to make sure that the ship remained untouched, so we dealt with the offending pirates. Apparently, all of our slave freeing hasn't gone unnoticed, and now the living conditions of the people and the slaves is worsening because of our actions, and we decided to free another slave ship. But the escorts decided to fire on that slave ship as soon as they determined that they wouldn't win in a naval conflict with us. This led to us jumping in and trying to save as many slaves as possible, even though it put our own life at risk. And I can just say that this escape section was very cool, and we had to vertically parkour up a capsized ship while it was falling apart all around us, and might have just been the most cinematic section in the whole DLC. Anyway, we managed to make it out, but we still had major losses as most of the slaves on the ship didn't make it out as we couldn't free all of them, which drives us emotionally to seek revenge against the governor.
The governor will pay with his own life.
We found him branding a slave with a branding iron, and this makes us pissed, so we decide that he needs to die here and now. The only problem is he is very protected, and we can get an achievement here for killing 5 enemies with the blunderbuss. Another one for later killing the governor with the branding iron, which is a nice taste of his own medicine. The only problem was getting through his numerous guards, and I made a whole mound of them before even attempting to kill the governor. With the governor dead, the game was now finished with Adewale and Bastien now having a final talk, and this meant that we got the achievement for finishing all 9 missions and the achievement for 100%ing all missions or doing every mission's optional objectives as well. With that, the last achievement is to get 500 slaves liberated, and did you know that the Maroons were escaped slaves in real life, just like in the game, and they lived in mountain communities like the hideout in the game, and they pursued guerrilla tactics against the British colonial governments in Jamaica? In the game, you have the option to do the plantation raid stealthily, and kinda sorta could be compared to guerrilla warfare, and they do seem like an actual resistance in the game with all of their rewards, as well as them helping you in some certain missions like the one where you stole the ship. Obviously, all of this history has been adapted into a game format, but I still think that it is very cool that it was actually included by the writers, and they tried to parallel the history of the real world in this DLC. Anyway, that was the last achievement, but since these 3 videos were such a huge time commitment, I decided to send off my last time playing this game by exploring the wreck of the Jackdaw as a symbolic gesture and leaving the game on a high note. And you know what would be really cool in this game? If we could actually like shoot guns like the pistols or the blunderbuss off of the ship. I know like the ship combat is really cool, but I mean if you could get like someone to pilot the ship for you and you can just be there like like one of the crew members instead and just shooting to other ships, I think that would be so cool. You never know, it might be in the resynced version coming out in less than a month now. It's actually crazy. Well, that's it. I found this game and the 100% very fun, and I was excited for the resync version until I saw that they already had a deluxe edition as well as pre-order bonuses, which all but killed my excitement. Like, why can't we just get a normal game released without any of these bells and whistles of trying to suck more money out of the people's pockets? And this game is even single player, so what would a deluxe edition or a pre-order bonus even mean? Like a different skin for your pistols or for your character? Like, what's the point? And why would we want to skip progression like this with the credit card cheat code? I don't understand. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and the others if you have watched them. If you haven't, I'll try to remember to link them. Have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you again in the future.